सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु सह
भुनक्तु
वीर्यं
वीर्यं
कर्वावहै
कर्वावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
ॐ तत्सत्। ॐ नमः शिवाय।
तत्सत्। नमः शिवाय।
So we had completed the 30th verse of chapter 3, and let us go on to the 31st verse. We will chant Shri Bhagavan
Shri Bhagavan
Ye me matamidam nityam Anutishtanti manavaha
अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः
Shraddhavantanasoyantah
श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः
Muchyante tepi karmabhihi.
मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः।
I'm muting all of y'all. And first, as usual, we look at the words. So it is ye, me, matam. So that matam idam is to be broken down. Ye, me, matam idam nityam. Anutishtanti manavaha. Then the first word of the second line, Shraddhavantaha Anusuyantaha. So as you can see, all the toes, Shraddhavanto. When you break the sandhi, the O is dropped and the visarga is added. So Shraddhavantaha Anusuyantaha Muchyante te. The avagraha is dropped. Te api karmabhihi. And we can look at the Anvaya, the post formation. Ye manavaha Shraddhavantaha Anusuyantaha Me idam matam nityam anutishtanti, comma, te api karma bihi muchyante. So, te manavaha, those people, those humans, manavaha, humans, obviously because the teaching is addressed only towards the humans. So, te manavaha, those people who shraddhavantaha, have trust, are endowed with trust in this teaching, and anasuyantaha, who are not cynical, is an important quality. We will talk about it. So, anasuyantaha, who are not cynical, me idam matam, my teaching, this teaching, nityam anutishtanti, constantly follow, constantly are aware of, te api karma bihi muchyante. Te api muchyante, they are also freed, karma bihi, from the bonds of karma. Okay. So in simple English, those people who are endowed with faith and who are not cynical, who are not critical, who follow this teaching of mine with faith and without being cynical, they too are freed. They too are freed from the bonds of karma. Okay, so here Krishna is talking about the advantages of following karma yoga, and of course, by implication, the disadvantage of not following karma yoga. So first he talks about those who follow karma yoga. So idam matam manavaha anutishtanti. Idam me matam manavaha anutishtanti. Those people who follow this teaching of mine. Right. So remember, is highly contextual. So teaching, the word matam in different chapters will mean different things. Here we are talking about karma yoga. The earlier verses have been karma yoga. The chapter itself is karma yoga. Therefore, contextually, idam matam means this teaching of mine about karma yoga. Manavaha anutishtanti. Some people follow. Those people who follow. So what is the teaching? Essentially, if you remember all that we have talked about, number one, you follow Nitya, Naimitika karma. So Nitya, Naimitika karma are both prescribed in the scriptures, in the Shastra. So Nitya karma is there, which is different for different varnas. So Brahmachari has certain Nitya karma, the sannyasi has other Nitya karma, the grahastha has certain Nitya karma. So they are all prescribed for different varnas. There are different karmas. So Nitya and Naimitika karma. Naimitika karma is occasional karma. So Nitya is constant karma. Like for example, for a grahastha, Sandhya Vandanam in the morning is Nitya karma. He has no choice about not doing it. Every single day of his life, he has to do Nitya karma. Naimitika karma may be those particular occasions, and somebody is getting married, somebody has died. So those karmas where he has to do, those are occasional karmas, Naimitika karma. The first thing is follow, abide by Nitya, Naimitika karmas which are prescribed by Shastra. The second one is reduce Kamya karma, reduce karmas specifically oriented towards fulfillment of desires. The third one is try to reduce Prayaschita karma which is done by way of penance. Which implies what? If you have to reduce Prayaschita karma, you have to reduce those occasions which call for Prayaschita. It is not that I continue to violate Shastram and then I don't do Prayaschita karma, right? The Shastram is very clear. If some violation has taken place, Prayaschitam must be done. Penance must be done. And therefore, when Shastram says Prayaschitta karma you reduce, Shastram is not saying that you can continue to do violations and reduce the Prayaschitam. It means you have to reduce the violations also. So reduce karma oriented towards fulfillment of desires. So Kamya karma you reduce, Prayaschitta karma you reduce, and totally avoid Nisheda karma or Nishiddha karma specifically prohibited by the scriptures. You must specifically avoid. This is the teaching so far. This is karma yogi. And of course, goes without saying that Easwara must be there in the center of all this. You must have Easwara Arpanam attitude and Easwara Prasadam attitude. That should be there. All these together is the teaching of karma yoga. And Nityam. Some people are constantly following this karma, this particular teaching. And remember, Nityam means for a Ajnani, for a sadhaka, there are two roles which I am executing every moment of my life. Either I am a karta or I am a bhokta. And in both these cases, I have to abide by this teaching. That is what it means. Whether you are a karta or a bhokta, the teaching has to be followed. And how do I follow this teaching? Shraddhavantaha, with total faith in the validity of this teaching. Faith is required. Why? Because the benefits arising out of karma yoga, they are adrishtam. They are spiritual in nature. They are not measurable at all. The amount of punyam that you build up because of following this particular karma yoga, it cannot be measured. There is no measure possible. And therefore, faith is required, right? When something doesn't present a concrete benefit, when the entire thing is very subtle, how do we measure, right? So look at the various karmas. If it is sakama karma means karma meant for fulfilling your desires, but it is done as a karma yogi. So if you remember what we have studied in chapter 2 and chapter 3, it is not that karma yogi cannot do karma which benefits himself. He might be asking for, let us say, for a child, putra kameshti yajna, or he might be asking for money, avahanti yajna, right? He can do these things, but Ishvara is involved, yajna is involved. So in that karma, you must always remember, any karma has two sets of phalam, two sets of consequences. One is drishtaha and one is adrishtaha. So if it is, for example, putra kameshti yajna, it's a karma. It's karma prescribed in the karma kanda. And therefore, if I am doing that particular karma, there are two benefits. One is drishtaha and one is adrishtaha. One is visible and one is invisible. And we both know that the karma itself has a sankalpa, has a motivation. So the motivation gives the adrishta, the physical karma gives the drishta. So what are the two benefits in the case of, say, avahanti homa? Avahanti homa is homam done for acquiring wealth. What is drishtam? What is the visible benefit?
Wealth. Getting wealth.
Getting wealth. What is adrishtam?
Chitta Shuddhi.
Chitta Shuddhi. So that we should be very clear about. The visible drishta phalam is the direct result of the homam. So that will be wealth, money. And the adrishtam is because you are doing it, there is punyam. Okay, that is the case of sakama karma. In case of nishkama karma, you are not asking for anything. So that is the benefit. Benefit is punyam is there, but that benefit, the drishta phalam is what? It is the purification of your mind. Here also there are two. The adrishta is punyam, but with the drishta comes the chitta shuddhi also. So nishkama karma gives you chitta shuddhi as direct visible result, because may not be visible to others, but for you, you can definitely feel the result, the reduction in your FIR, which is the benefit, which is the purification of mind, right? And therefore, when I talk about these kind of karmas, I cannot physically demonstrate to you what are the benefits, and I can only say that you practice and you will see for yourself. And therefore, shraddhavantaha, you have to be having faith in the efficacy of the teaching. The teaching will not go waste. That faith should be there. So that is the first and foremost qualification for this karma yogi. And anusuyantaha. So anusuyanta can be broken into asuyaha. What is asuyaha? Asuya is the tendency to criticize, right? Whenever you look at something, you are only looking for mistakes. So somebody does something, it may be a very nice thing that he has done, but instead of looking at the good part and looking at, and appreciating it, the person who has asuyaha mentality, he will look only for mistakes. He will look only to criticize. So asuyaha is criticizing always. The very vision, the very drishti is meant to criticize. And therefore that person who is asuyaha, he has lost the capacity to appreciate, right? So anusuyantaha, without that asuyaha quality, without the quality of criticizing everything. And Swami Dayananda once said, this is the mind of a proofreader. So, as a proofreader, what do? You only read to find mistakes. You might be reading the deepest of all philosophies, but the philosophy will not touch you at all, because you are not looking to understand. You're looking only for mistakes. So proofreader's mind, this is asuyaha. And Krishna says that with regard to Shastram, if you have this quality of asuyaha, if you have this negative criticizing mind, then you are going to reject the scriptures, and the scripture is not going to benefit you at all. So the technical definition is paraguneshu dosha avishkaranam. Avishkaranam is to literally means to discover. So paraguneshu, in the best of gunas, dosha avishkar. You discover the worst. So in the best of things, in the most wonderful features of another person, I discover only the mistakes. That is paraguneshu dosha avishkaranam is asuyaha. Now, so if, for example, assuming that there is some defect in the teaching, there is some logical defect, there is some kind of grammatical defect, what should we do? In the scriptures, we don't look. We overlook the defects. We don't bother about the defects. We always try to extract the teaching and try to follow that. Right? So things like, you read the Ramayana, and the question was Rama right in killing Vali? Why did he hide and kill? Or whether Bhishma's actions were correct. Or you say Draupadi had 5 husbands, why can't I have 2? So never do it this way. Learn what you can and disregard the rest. Remember that Puranas, Itihasas Puranas, are what is known as Arthavadaha. They teach by exaggeration. So that quality which is meant to be emphasized, they exaggerate. And they exaggerate in 2 ways. Sometimes they glorify that quality, and sometimes the opposite quality is derided. They bring it down. They criticize it heavily. So Arthavada method of teaching is there in the Puranas because it is more easily understood by the masses. So the essence here is extract the essence of the teaching and ignore the rest. It is like eating the sugar cane, When you eat a sugar cane, what do? I mean, I'm not talking about you grinding it. You take a piece of sugar cane, eat. You munch and grind. You get all the juice, and then what is it? What is left? You throw it away. So this is exactly what you should do in the scriptures. Extract the mistakes, throw away the rest. And only with this attitude of Anusuyaha will you understand the scriptures. Will you understand even the Puranas, even Ramayana, Mahabharata, if you read, unless this attitude is there, you can only look for defects. Right? Okay, that's one answer. The second understanding is, supposing that I am been studying the scriptures with the help of the Acharya, and I feel there are certain defects which I have not understood, which I have not accepted. I feel this particular sentence or this particular part of the teaching is defective because I don't like it. I don't think that is the right thing to do. So then the right understanding for a Vedantic student is that not that the scripture is defective, but that my understanding is defective. The problem is not with the scriptures. The problem is with my limited understanding. And therefore, I should have sufficient shraddha, sufficient faith to once again study, once again probe into the scriptures with the guidance of a guru, of a teacher who is in the sampradaya. And the sampradaya, when you have, you know that the teaching is only the original teaching. The teacher doesn't add his own interpretations. Then only the teaching will be understood properly. And this attitude is called anasuya, very, very important virtue for a seeker. And Krishna stresses in the Gita several times. And even in the 18th chapter, he talks about 4 major qualifications for a person to be imparted the teaching of the Gita. And he says, among those 4, anasuya is one of those qualifications. And therefore, anusuyantaha, not being unnecessarily critical. It does not mean, do not examine. It does not mean don't question the words. It means do not blindly be critical. Try to understand what the teacher is saying. Try to understand what the Shastram is saying. And the one who follows this Karma Yoga teaching of mine with these qualities, with this attitude, what will happen to him? He says, te api karma bihi muchyante. that person will be freed from all karma. So freed from all karma means, it's a technical term for Jivan Muktaha. He becomes a Jivan Muktaha. He gets moksha. Okay. Now the question is, if Karma Yoga can lead to moksha, why should I come to Jnana Yoga? And we all know the answer to that. What is the answer?
Karma yoga cannot lead to moksha.
Amount of karma will lead to jnana.
Karma Yoga can only lead to Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi will bring you to Jnanam. Jnanam will give you moksha. That is the answer. Okay. So with that, the 31st verse is over. Let us look at the 32nd. So please unmute yourself and we will chant the 32nd verse. Ye tve tabhyasuyantaha Ye tve tabhyasuyantaha This is ye tve tad abhyasoyantaha. Okay. Ye tve tad abhyasoyantaha Nanutishtanti me matam
नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतं
Sarvajnana vimudam stan Vidhi nashtana chetasaha.
विद्धि नष्टान चेतसा.
Okay. So look at the grammar part again. So the first word we break. Ye is remains as it is. Ye, tve is tu. So tve tad. Tu plus etad. Ye, tu, etad. Abhyasoyantaha na anutishtanti me matam. Na anutishtanti is na anutishtanti me matam. Then sarva jnana vimudhan tan. So that breakup is important. Sarva jnana vimudhan tan vidhi nashtan achetasaha. Ye tu etad abhyasuyantaha na anutishtanti me matam sarva jnana vimudhan tan vidhi nashtan achetasaha. And the Anvaya is ye tu abhyasuyantaha, comma, me etad matam na anutishtanti, comma, me etad matam na anutishtanti, comma, tan sarva jnana vimudhan achetasaha nashtan vidhi, full stop. So ye tu, whereas. So this tu, whenever whereas comes, it is contrasting the current with the past. So something was said in the past, whereas tu, ye abhyasuyantaha, those people who are cynical, and me etad matam na anutishtanti, who do not follow this teaching of mine, tan sarvagyan vimudhan, they in sarvagyan, in all other areas of knowledge, tan vimudhan, they are confused, and achetasaha, they are deluded, they lack discrimination. Vidhi nashtan, know that these are lost people. They are people who have not found the path. Okay, they are lost. So nashtan is used over here. So this is the tu. The tu here is what in the last verse Krishna talked about, those people anutishtanti manavaha, who followed my teaching. And tu here refers to, has to be connected to na anutishtanti, those people who do not follow my teaching. Ye me matam na anutishtanti. That's why the tu. the contrast. And why don't they follow my teaching? Abhyasuyantaha. They have asuyaha. They find fault with the teaching. They say it is 5,000 years old. It is all superstition. It is all nonsense. It is no more valid now. One must change with the times. All interpretations have to be new. All these you will find people saying. And Krishna says, Sarva Jnana Vimudhansthana. These people are utterly confused, not only with regard to Atma Jnanam, but regard to all kinds of knowledge. So generally we can say that Jnanam, knowledge, can be classified into two very broad buckets. One is Atma Anatma Jnanam and one is Dharma Adharma Jnanam. So the first one, Dharma Adharma Jnanam, is Apara Vidya, that is the inferior knowledge, and the Atma Anatma Jnanam is Paravidya, superior knowledge. So Krishna is saying these people are confused regarding both. Regarding to Dharma Adharma, they are confused. Regarding to Atma Jnanam, also they are confused. Regarding the Veda Purva, they are confused. The Karma Kanda, they are confused. Regarding Brahma Jnanam, Vedanta, they are also confused. So this Vimudhan, some commentators say Vividham Mudhan, confused in multiple ways. Vividham means multiple. Some commentators have commented upon this. Vimudhan is Vividham Mudhan. Shankaracharya doesn't say. Other commentators add. Pramana Vishaye, Prameya Vishaye, Prayojana Vishaye, Mudhan. The Pramana Vishaye means they are confused with regard to the Pramanam, the source of the knowledge. Prameya Vishaye, they are confused in regard to the object of the knowledge. And Prayojana Vishaye, they are confused in regard to the Prayojanam, the benefit of the knowledge. They are completely confused. And therefore Vimudhan can also be taken as Vishesha Mudhan, excellently confused, or superior, confused in a superior manner. Okay. And therefore Krishna says Achetasaha. The reason why they are confused is because these people are indiscriminate people. They are not able to use their thinking faculty. They don't learn from experiences. Because whenever Shastram prescribes certain sadhana, I can look at any prescription in the Shastra, any ritual, for example, prescribed. I can look at it positively or negatively. I can say that every prescription given by the Shastram is for my own good, right? Because Shastram is like a mother. In fact, Shankaracharya writes in his Kathopanishad Bhashya that the Shruti, the Veda, is equal to 1,000 mothers. And just as a mother will never prescribe anything which is not good for me, Shastra will also never mislead me. This conviction is the Shraddha. This is the positive way of looking. What is the negative way of looking, which is very common? All the rituals, they are useless. I lose my freedom. Shastra is restricting my freedom and I don't see any benefit. I am a human being. I am, adult. I can do whatever I want and therefore I will do whatever I like. So this is a negative approach. People think it is intelligent. Shastra says these are unintelligent people who have a negative approach. And what happens to them? Vidhinashtan. Arjuna, you should understand that all such people are destroyed spiritually. Why? Because they have lost one precious human life. That human life is given only for your moksha. And if you have thrown it away, you have lost one very precious opportunity to get moksha. Okay. Now we look at the next verse. We will chant. So please unmute yourself. Sadrusham cheshthathe swasyaha.
Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha
Prakriter jnanavanapi.
Prakrite jnanavanapi
Prakritim yanti bhutani.
Prakritim yanti bhutani
Grah kim karishyati.
Nigraha karishyati.
Very beautiful verse. and one which we should always remember, Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati. You should always remember that. As I explain, you will understand why. Sadrisham cheshthate swasyaha, then prakrittehe jnanavan api. The jnanavan has a halant below the na. So prakrittehe, prakrite with the visarga, jnanavan api. Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. The anvaya is jnanavan api swasyaha jnanavan api swasyaha prakrite sadrisham cheshthate. Full stop. Bhutani prakritim yanti, you can put a dash, nigraham kim karishyati. So jnanavan api, even a jnani, even a wise person, cheshthate, acts, sadrisham, in keeping with swasyaha prakrite, his own nature. Okay, very, very important. Even wise people, their actions are in harmony with their own nature. Jnanavan api cheshthate, sadrisham prakrite swasyaha. Even wise people, they act in accordance with their own natures. And then he generalizes that statement. Bhutani prakritim yanti. So Bhutani here is not just human beings, all living beings, prakritim yanti, act according to their own natures. Nigraham kim karishyati. What will any restraint accomplish? What is the point of any restraint at all? A very, very potent verse, very often misquoted. In simple English, even a jnani always acts in harmony with his own nature. All beings follow their own nature. What will any restraint do? Okay. Now, why does Krishna say this? Arjuna has not asked a question. So this, you have to supply here. Arjuna has asked, why do people behave in a particular manner? That question Krishna anticipated. So what is that question? Why do people behave in a manner which is contradictory to the teaching given by you? So that is the question which Arjuna should have asked, right? Which he didn't ask, and Krishna anticipated that. So he is answering that question. See, he's saying that Vedic teaching, your teaching is very well known because Arjuna has studied Dharma Shastra. So your teaching is very well known. And therefore, Krishna, tell me, when the teaching is so well known, why don't people follow it? Right? Okay, what is the answer? So Krishna says, everybody, every person or every being actually is born with a certain composition of the three gunas. When he is born, he has a particular percentage of distribution of sattva, rajas and tamas, the threefold gunas. This is determined according to your last birth and the fructifying prarabdha. What does sattva represent? It represents the knowledge faculty. Rajas represents how active you are, the dynamism in your personality represents. And tamas represents the inertia. Tamas dulls both sattva and rajas. So tamas has as its component both physical inertia, which is what dulls rajas, and it has intellectual inertia, which is what dulls sattva. And therefore it is said that when tamas is predominant, you will be neither intellectually active nor physically active, and that is why tamas is said to induce a state of sleep. Without tamas, you cannot sleep, because in sleep, you have neither physical activity nor intellectual activity. Both sattva and rajas have been overshadowed by tamas during your sleep. And it is based on this triguna only that you have the entire varna system. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These 4 classifications are based on these classifications only, on these 3 gunas only, and we'll see them far away right now in the 14th chapter. Some people are, and we know some people are very rajasic, predominantly extroverted. Some people are very intellectual, and some people are not good in either of them. So it is important to understand our personality. And once you understand the personality, the best thing to do, the most intelligent thing to do for us is, number 1, find out where we are dominant, in which guna is most dominant most of the time in our lives, right? That you have to find out. And with enough of thinking processes, you can find out. And if you can't find out, you ask your wife, she'll tell you exactly what your composition is. Okay, so that aside, once, very important to know what is your composition. And then, having known what is the dominant personality, you should take up your work. Your employment, your job which you do should always be in harmony with the dominant guna. And you will find that your life will have not too many ups and downs, because your work itself is harmonized with your predominant guna. Right? That is why Vishwamitra, remember Vishwamitra was born a Kshatriya, right? So he's supposed to be Rajas predominant, but he was not. He was Sattva predominant. So Vishwamitra, in spite of being born a Kshatriya, he became a Rishi. And while Dronacharya, in spite of being a Brahmana, where he's supposed to be Sattva predominant, he was actually Rajas predominant. And therefore, Dronacharya, because of his Rajas predominance, he became the chief of the army for the Kauravas. So here Krishna is saying, hey Arjuna, it is better to go by your Prakriti, by your composition, by your Swabhava. You are born a Kshatriya, and for you, Kshatriya guna, that is Rajas is predominant, and it is not in your nature to sit and meditate. Right? Even in the war, even in the forest, Arjuna was the most uncomfortable one, always waiting for the 13th year, and therefore he wanted to fight. Arjuna enjoys warfare. Why? Because of his Rajas, because of his Kshatriya nature. But now, when he is facing his own, teachers and his own kith and kin in the opposite army, suddenly he talks about ashrama, dhyanam, sannyasa, all these things he talked about were in the first chapter. And therefore, Krishna is advising Arjuna, that your personality indicates that you are Kshatriya. You will not be able to be a proper sannyasi. And therefore, Krishna says here, swasyaha prakritehe sadrishtam cheshtate. A person acts according, cheshtate, he acts. Sadrisham swasyaha prakrite, according to his own prakriti. So prakriti here means what? The proportion of sattva, rajas, tamas, which means the swabhava. The guna composition of your body-mind complex is prakriti, which determines your character. And therefore, everybody acts according to this guna mix only. And that is true, even if you are a jnani. Therefore, prakritehe jnanavanapi. Even the jnani's life is governed by his prakriti. The lifestyle that everybody leads, it varies from individual to individual, right? And that is why you have jnanis who have withdrawn from everything and sit inside a cave. In the Tapovan, you will find some jnani sitting there and only meditating. While another jnani is in the world, he comes out, he establishes institutions, he writes books. Swami Shivananda was one of them. Swami Dayananda was one of them. He teaches. Why the difference when both are jnanis? Prakritehe jnanavanapi. He acts according to his prarabdha, according to his own nature. Ravi. Remember, the jnani is a jnani. The one who sits in the cave and meditates and stays away from all people, he is not bigger or smaller than the one who does service by teaching or by building charitable institutions. Lots of ways in which jnanis have served. Swami Shivananda served as a doctor also, right? So all these are basically indicates of your Prakriti. Hence, he says, Prakritim yanti bhutani, all beings, which include animals, it includes tigers and cows, all living beings, you should understand, they all behave in accordance with their own nature only. Nigraham kim karishati, what can restraint do? It is impossible to stop the nature of a person from behaving the way he wants. Okay, having said all this, what is the first thing that you will say, oh, I will never be able to behave other than my own nature, right? So why should I do any sadhana at all? I see Amit's hand is up. So yes, Amit.
Om Acharya ji. Acharya ji, I have a question. Like you were talking that Vishwamitra Dronacharya followed their gunas and accordingly they acted. Okay. So just wanted to understand, once we analyze ourselves or once we take help of a known person to let us know our gunas, so sometimes either we are or they become biased. Okay. So do we have any systematic way or approach by which we can find our gunas? Because it's very important to know, accordingly we can plan our
Yeah, the gunas and how to figure out your gunas are there in the 14th chapter, which is very far away. So you'll have to wait over there. Okay? You don't want to jump chapters. But the 14th chapter indicates to you how exactly you should determine what is your predominant guna.
Okay.
It's a very deep study of the gunas.
Great. Thank you so much. And Acharya ji, one more question. Like you just said that Arjuna had studied Dharma Shastra. Okay. So which are those Dharma Shastra which we as a modern people can also study? And
There are many. There is basically it's the Dharma Shastra. When you say it is the entire Karma Kanda.
Okay.
The Karma Kanda teachers are very few today. But if you probably join an ashram, you might find something. Actually, most ashrams don't. But there are Karma Kanda teachers. To find one is extremely difficult because for one thing, it requires something like 10, 12 years to really study the Shastra. Nobody has that kind of time. So essentially, you look at what is known as Jaimini's works. There's a Rishi called Jaimini has written a commentary on the Dharma Shastra. That commentary, if you want to read, you can find it's available. You can, if you are not to find the English commentary may be difficult. So probably in Hindi you will find the commentary. So if you're comfortable with Hindi, you can find the commentary. Basically, Dharma Shastra is very simple. Don't do unto others what you don't want to do to you. As simple as that. One line. Okay, I can see a lot of hands, but I would suggest that you wait till I finish this particular verse and then we will open out. Is that okay? All right. So, Krishna here, when he says that Prakritim Yanti Bhutani, he's talking about what? He's talking about a very basic nature, which we call Vasana. Right? Vasana is there in every person. That Vasana indicates a very basic nature. And here, a very important refinement of our idea of karma and karma phalam has to be explained. We said karma has two types of results, drishta, adrishta. Now we are saying even in the results, that results can be again classified in different manner. And Shastra uses two different words for them. So every karma has results which are, number one, in the nature of phalam, consequence, and number two, in the nature of vasana. Remember, vasana also is basically a karma phalam only. What is the difference between karma phalam and vasana? Karma phalam impacts me by giving me experiences, favorable or unfavorable. So it impacts me in my role as a bhokta, as an experiencer. What is vasana? Vasana is that samskara which is hidden, which basically influences my future actions. And that is what he means here. Sadrisham Tishtate Swasyaha. Everybody acts in accordance with his own nature, in accordance with his vasanas. Remember, those vasanas are also results of your previous karma. And therefore, there is one type of karma phalam which you experience in your role as bhokta by way of pleasant and unpleasant experiences. And there is another type of karma phalam which is vasana. Vasana impacts you in your role as a karta. So phalam, karma phalam impacts you in your role as a bhokta. Vasana is a phalam which impacts your future actions. So it influences your role as the future karta. That is very important to understand. Okay. This vasana, which we otherwise call samskara, is what Krishna means by prakriti in this verse. This prakriti is that particular vasana. And what does he mean? The vasana sometimes is so powerful that the person, number one, he doesn't even know it is there. Right? That vasana is hidden. So he doesn't know it is there. He acts, but he is acting not under his free will. He is acting under the influence of that vasana. And he does all sort of actions. And that is why Duryodhana says in the Mahabharata, Janami dharma name pravrittihi. He says, I know exactly what is dharma, but I just cannot follow it. And he says, Janami adharma name nivrittihi. I also know what is exactly adharma. I know it is wrong. Name nivrittihi. It is impossible for me not to do adharma. That's a very beautiful line which Duryodhana says, which indicates what? That vasana is there, all pervading, so powerful that vasana is, that Duryodhana doesn't even know it is there. And every action of his is influenced by that vasana. And Shankara defines it here. In fact, he defines pravritti here in his commentary. He says, Purvakrita dharma adharma adi samskaraha. Purvakrita means that which has been generated by previous karma. Purvakrit karma, that karma which was done previously in your previous lives, and in the form of dharma, adharma, samskara, which has generated punya and papa karma. Right? Remember, vasana is not pratyaksham. It is not visible. That vasana becomes visible, becomes known only when it manifests by way of either your thoughts or by way of your actions or by way of your words. When that happens, sometimes, like you are talking to somebody who's very close to you, say your wife or your husband or your children, and for some reason you say something, having said that, you know it is wrong. Even as you are saying it, you know it is wrong. And yet, you can't keep from saying that. That something inside you is forcing you to say that. Your intellect is screaming, no, don't do that, don't say that. But you say it. Are we familiar with this episode? With this kind of...
Very often.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Krishna is saying, this is the vasana. This is the vasana. It is not pratyaksham, but it is known only when it gets converted into words or actions, and they hurt people. So this vasana manifestation, remember, vasana is aprathyaksham, it is always hidden. And therefore, since you don't act in that manner all the time, remember the vasana is always triggered into manifestation by something. Some external cause is what triggers that vasana. That vasana manifests in the form of your words and thoughts or even actions. And therefore Krishna is saying here that nobody, even a jnani or a ajnani, can escape the influence of vasana. And Shankara adds here, even Easwara cannot control vasanas of human beings. Because if he had control, Shankara adds, where is the question of any human being not being on the spiritual path? Very, very beautiful verse. Okay, now we can open up for questions.
So then do we call this a loss of impulse control, like reactive rather than responsive? Is that like you had given an example? No.
When you're giving an impulse, when you're controlling the impulse, you are aware of the impulse. Vasana, you're not aware of. You don't even know why it is happening.
Okay.
So that's why I said it's apratyaksha. It is not visible at all. Its impact is felt only by way of your thoughts, words, and actions. But you don't know what the vasana is.
Okay. The trigger is not known, and so it happens.
The trigger is also not known. Why you're saying these things are also not known. You only know the effect, which is usually hurting other people.
Yes. Thank you.
Om Acharya.
Yes.
What's the main difference between the sanskaras and vasanas?
Samskaras and vasana are the same, two different words. They are what affects you in your role as a karta. That is the main difference between karma phalam and vasanas. Both, remember, are consequences of karma only. Both are karma phalam. But one affects you by way of your experiences. One gives you painful experiences and pleasant experiences. So it is in your role as bhokta, experiencer, that it affects you. Vasana influences you in your role as the karta, as the doer of actions.
Sir, why is Vasana always hurtful?
Because you don't know. It's not always hurtful. Okay, you can be doing some good things, but nobody will tell you that why are you doing these good things. So nobody points it out. But there are vasanas which can make you do things. Right? Where you see a dog on the road, somebody's mic is up and they're talking, please can you put it off? If you're talking in your house and your mic is open, you're disturbing the class. So you can have situations like, you see a dog on the road and you try and go and give it a chapati. That is also a vasana. But nobody points out and says, why are you doing this? Because it's a good thing to do. So vasana, both vasanas, good and bad, are there. We are more aware, we are more concerned actually with the vasanas which hurt.
Yeah, Astaji, we do have the varieties of vasanas. How do we get rid of the bad vasanas, Ji? What are the modalities?
You don't even know what the vasanas are. Right?
Oh.
So anyway, in the next verse, we will talk about what is the methodology. But right now, let us...
2194.
Thank you. Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
In fact, that was the question that was coming to mind as well.
There are so many people talking, I don't know who is saying what. I have just muted everybody. The one who wants to ask a question can ask. But there's somebody talking in that house of theirs and that's not interfering. So whoever asks. Yeah.
Om Acharya. Om Acharya.
Yes, tell me. Rinku, you can go ahead.
Okay. Acharya, I have a couple of questions related to this.
Yeah.
We are all born with certain gunas in us, in a composition of tamas, rajas, and sattva.
Yeah.
But as we understand this knowledge, we all would strive to become more sattvic as compared to any other gunas as the knowledge keeps on coming. So this nature is going to evolve in life.
Yes.
So picking up our work according to that would probably obviously will change in life as we move ahead.
Yes.
That is one part. Second thing is, if the vasanas are so predominant, then in a jnani who is apparently the one who has risen over all the three gunas and whom the sattva is supposed to be most predominant, then what is the role of vasanas in a jnani?
Yeah. Why was Swami Shivananda so active? He was active all the time. He wrote some 300 odd books. He was not meditating. But what activity means which guna?
He must have been in sattva only.
No.
Rajas.
The basic nature was rajas.
Rajas.
Sattva was very much there. But if it was total sattva, I would be meditating in a cave in the Himalayas. So that basic nature is there. Jnani can be sattvic and yet have a very strong streak of rajas. Remember that sattva, all these three are basically belonging to the body only. So you cannot be free of them at any point of time.
But Acharya later in the chapters, Bhagwan says that the one who has all the sattva gunas, they are the ones who are born for liberation or for moksha.
No, there is nothing
So
like that.
what is-
Valmiki was a dacoit.
But then he meditated on Lord Rama and he attained that particular guna and
Agreed.
became
But there is
Vasana.
nothing which says that if you are not sattva, you cannot get jnana. Don't confuse between the gunas and jnanam. The gunas are belong to the body. Jnanam is what gives meditation, what gives liberation.
We also say that knowledge destroys the vasanas. Is that
No,
true?
knowledge doesn't destroy any
Atmajnanam?
vasanas. No, knowledge destroys your connection with your body. The vasanas belong to your body and mind. Knowledge destroys that connection. Your body and mind will continue to behave in the way in which the vasanas are going to make them behave.
So there is nothing to feel bad if one behaves.
No, I will not say that.
Appropriate.
I will not say that. That is, we will cover that in the next verse.
Om Acharya.
The remedy for all this is given in the next verse. This verse is a very provocative verse because it seems to tell you that it is all right to do whatever you feel like doing.
It is that it's not in our control. Some things are not in our control. Even if you don't want to do them, you know that it is not right, but they just seem to happen. And
how do you handle that? That question that answered by Krishna in the next verse. So we have to wait for that verse.
Okay.
Om Acharya.
Yeah.
The karma phalam and vasana, when we do take any action, it gives us immediate results are visible to us as karma phalam.
Not necessary. You can have punyam and papam is also karma phalam.
Okay, karma phalam. So whatever, it is visible. It's drasht phalam. But
no,
vasana.
No, don't mix up. There is karma phalam is drishta. There is one classification. Karma phalam is for the karta bhokta. That is another classification. Don't try to correlate those two.
So what is the? That's why I wanted to ask. Then
you can't correlate drishta to bhokta karta. That is an impossible task. You cannot do it.
Okay. कर्म फलम एंड वासना में क्या फर्क है?
अभी तो बताया मैंने आपको, कर्म फलम भोक्ता के लिए होता है, वासना कर्ता के लिए होता है. कर्म फलम influences the bhokta.
Vasana is creating some attitudes or hidden attitudes.
No, vasana is the reason why you have got your particular nature. Yes.
Okay.
And that is going to affect your all your karma. That is manifested by way of those triggers which you do not understand. Why did I do this? How many of us have done things which we have regretted almost the moment we have done, or said things which we have regretted before the words are actually out of your mouth? That is vasana.
So vasana is also created by karmas.
Yes, vasana is the result of repeated karmas.
Okay. So
if you are a smoker today, after 10 years of smoking, that smoking is now a vasana, but that was created by 10 years of regular smoking.
So it's also karma phalam.
That's what I said. Both are karma phalam. They are different classifications, that is all.
One is hidden and one is visible.
One is visible and invisible. And that's why I'm saying, don't try to correlate adrishta with karta bhokta. It won't work. It could be both. Just to understand what they really are. Vasana is anyway adrishta. You cannot see it.
It is hidden.
But that doesn't mean that all adrishta is vasana.
Okay.
Even punyam papam is adrishta.
Sir, sometimes our actions come out of some past underlying issues, not vasana, but what has happened vis-a-vis a person or a situation.
That is vasana only. Ultimately, that whatever has happened has been stewing in your mind. You've been cooking in your mind, and a vasana has been created.
Correct.
As simple as that.
Yes.
Yes, June.
Acharya. So, questions. Can we say that then part of the vasanas we got in this body mind sense complex are or prarabdha, and other vasanas are being created.
I don't understand a question. Can you repeat?
Is my internet connection clear?
Yeah, your connection is clear.
So, can we say that part of the vasanas that we have now in this life are product of our prarabdha, and other part of vasanas are being created during this life as well, like cultivating with your daily activities?
Every action of yours, repeated actions, they create a vasana. A single action cannot create a vasana. One peg of whiskey is not going to create a vasana. One peg of whiskey every day for 10 years will create a vasana.
And so those are the vasanas we create in this lifetime, but we're also born with vasanas.
Created in previous lifetimes, yes.
So that is also prarabdha for this lifetime. Those vasanas that we come.
That will become part of the way you see. Prarabdha, remember, it creates only the situation.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. So don't confuse.
So comes from a different. So it's not. We cannot say it's karma phalam, but doesn't fall into prarabdha.
See, the problem is that all of you guys, you are trying to simplify karma. Karma cannot be simplified. It's a huge web of complications. So whenever we talk about one part of karma, just understand that and do mananam and try to see how they all fit into the big picture.
Okay.
You can't reduce karma to clearly understandable 1, 2, 3, 4. A net cannot be. So it's more of a net than anything else.
And Acharya, the second question was, if we say we cannot destroy the vasanas, is there any way we can do to weaken them?
Yes, for that we'll have to wait for the next verse.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Shweta.
Acharya.
Yes.
Acharya, when we say that even Easwara doesn't has control over vasanas, I understand, but then what about Easwara Anugraha when we, of course, after weakening them by our sadhanas and all, over time, can we have...
Shweta, I think you are speaking on the speaker, so it's bouncing a lot. Can you just turn on the speaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
Yeah, now it's okay. Let me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what about control? The sentence is that how about Ishwara Anugraha related to vasanas? When even Ishwara cannot control vasanas, but there are times of grace or times of Anugraha from the Ishwara. So how does Shastra take that into consideration, or how does Shastra has answers about it?
No, it is very simple. Krishna says repeatedly in other places that free will is not in his control. Once he has given you free will, if he controls that, there is no free will anymore. And therefore, free will is absolutely free. You have the freedom to use it anyway. And therefore, since you can do any karma, therefore it means he cannot control your karma. And if he cannot control your karma, how can he control what arises from that karma, which is vasana? You have to analyze each subject to its very basis. The very basis of all this is free will.
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it. Thank you so much.
Yes, Tarka.
Something similar to this situation. Where I think what I understand is vasanas are something, your own prakriti, your personality, and it's a choiceless situation for that person to act upon. So if that is a choiceless situation, does the actions done by vasana generate any karma phala? Because there is no free will, right?
No, that I disagree with.
Uh-huh.
You have, let us say, a 30-year history of smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say it's choiceless for me. But I would say no. I would say your free will is not strong enough.
Okay, so we have to exercise free will to control the vasanas. It seems
yes.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So one should be very careful about saying I am helpless in doing this. Wherever your own effort is available to you, you are not helpless. And that is one of the main things. That's what Duryodhana said, no? Name revrittihi. I can't refrain from doing adharma. If you're saying that, you're putting yourself in the same bucket as Duryodhana. You don't want to do that. Yes, Deepaji.
So Acharya, that day you wrote a story about the cockroach. So it fits here very well. It depends how you react according to the situation. How do you take situation as it comes?
Point of the story was that you have the free will to act and to react. Which do you choose is the question. I'm not saying it is easy, but it is possible. Nobody ever said moksha is easy, right?
Yes.
For moksha, you require a tremendous amount of discipline, which means free will only. Your free will has to be properly trained.
Thank you.
Okay, Indira ji.
Oh, Acharya. I don't know if I'll be able to put the question properly. We know that we have some amount of prarabdha, so with my free will, will it change? I can choose to either hurt that person or not hurt that person. Suppose I'm very strong at vasanas. I know that by hurting, it's not good for my karma phala. So by that, will the future change, or irrespective of that, whatever you do, it will continue?
The problem behind such questions is that you all assume that it is your actions which are going to give you moksha. That is a problem. Do you get the catch? No amount of action can ever give you moksha.
Yeah, that's the intention, I think, the behind.
No, you do all this. You be a good person, but if you don't choose jnanam, you will die a good ajnani. Earlier on, you might have been dying a bad ajnani, but now you will die a good ajnani. So your post-death travel will be different, but it's not moksha.
No, what I'm trying to ask, suppose if I've hurt somebody and then I'm losing that friendship, is outcome of it. If I don't hurt, I will have that friendship. I will have that person with me.
Why do you have to hurt?
So that's what. So see, my thing is, if suppose that person being in my life is the prarabdha, or can it be changed with our actions?
Everything can be changed. Even now today, even husbands and wives can be changed. Where is a question of, see, thing is, don't say that this is my prarabdha, and prarabdha is not fatalistic. Prarabdha is only present to the situation. How you change the situation is your free will. There is no such thing as fatalism in the scriptures. Scriptures say that this current situation which you have is your own doing. That is all it says. How you handle it is up to you. That's free will.
So we don't have prarabdha for future also, where you'll end up.
You have prarabdha with all environment coming up. Like you might have prarabdha to die of a let us say of a car accident. That is not going to change.
Right. Okay.
One last question, Ji.
Yeah.
If we've hurt somebody through vasanas or bad intentions, and we apologize to them, where do we stand? Right away, realizing that we've done that mistake. And
I think we talked about this, that if you have hurt somebody, the best you can do is to make up for it. Apologize. If it is a financial hurt, you reimburse. All those things you can do.
So it counts as a better vasana, or
it counts as a prayaschitta karma.
Prayaschitta karma. Okay.
Penance.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Okay, with this we'll stop for the day. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om
Thank
Tat
you,
Sat.
Acharya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
your
Thank
patience.
you. Om Namah Shivaya.